What is up, guys? I am Charlie.
And I'm Luke.
And we are NBA addicts.
We are going to be talking about today NBA draft grades for every team from the most recent draft about a couple of days ago.
Well, we did part 1. I don't know if that's in the description or not. It is. You know, you can go ahead and watch that if you haven't seen this one.
We did cover the big Timberwolves trade in that one, so we're going to check that one out. So we left off with about to do the Nuggets. So the Nuggets drafted, got Trey Lyles from the Jazz, and Tyler London, Vlatko Cancar, and Monte Morris. So getting Trey Lyles, just giving up a couple of draft picks this draft. I mean, it wasn't a very big trade, but Trey Lyles just wasn't getting done for the Jazz, and maybe you can slip it in there and maybe do something. But so they chose Tyler London with the 24th pick, and Jazz did end up taking him, but they wanted him more.
True believers don't wish.
Why is that even a what? What is going on? Okay.
Sorry.
Kill it, or whatever. That was a weird ad.
I don't know why it did that. Sorry. And so he is from Syracuse. He plays small forward / power forward, and maybe since they drafted him, I mean, he will probably play the role that Danilo Gallinari had on this team.
He was a free agent.
Yeah, so, but now they also have Trey Lyles. He has a high upside. He was a nice fit at Syracuse, and he could possibly slide in, maybe get a little bit of playing minutes at Denver.
And maybe him and Nikola Jokic could figure something out with him at the 3 and Jokic at the 4. They could just form a big dynamic duo. But
yeah, so he's 6'9". It's pretty tall. He can play. It's nice that he can be a tall small forward, and he's not really that strong yet, but he can get there, and he can really play very nicely next to Jokic, since he can stretch the floor and protect the rim. He shot 39% from 3-pointers, and he blocked 1.5 shots per game. So that's pretty good. I mean, it's the nice 3 and D from a small forward. So, very nice pick right there. I'm going to give that pick like a A. And then after that, they chose Vlatko Cancar he's an international player with the 49th pick. I didn't really know who this guy was when they chose him, so I had to look him up, do a little research on him. So, he's from Slovenia.
never heard of it.
He's a small forward. So
Let's say it all at once. Draft and stash.
okay, they're not going to bring him over, and he's just going to keep on developing in Slovenia. Just a pick, maybe,
because they don't
see what he can turn into.
The Denver Nuggets don't have any more room on the roster, so basically he's gonna just stay in Slovenia
and get better in the Adriatic League. He could become a solid shooter in the NBA. It'll be a while before he surfaces. After that, they chose Monte Morris from Iowa State, the point guard. He is just a great leader for Iowa State. He was their best player, very good. He got rebounds, he got assists, scored a lot of points. He didn't really turn the ball over. So, very nice pick. He is a little small for size. Doesn't always do well, but I like this pick.
He was the best on his team. He was a leader, which is always great to have.
And he always he can play next to Moutier. And Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray, he can play next to them. So, but he could even get playing time this year. I really like the pick. A+ on that one.
Next, actually, I think I will give that all that in all probably a C C plus?
Well, overall, I think they're good picks. Well, I think they're weak picks. I don't think they're very risky, and I don't really love the trade, so I'm gonna go C, just straight up C. Don't love it, but I do like Monte Morris.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Pistons, who their only draft pick, they spent it on Luke Kennard, the shooting guard from Duke.
Yes, he was not a bad shooting guard, I wouldn't say.
He was probably the Duke's best producer, but I think he was the first player not to be a freshman drafted.
Yeah.
Besides Frank Ntilikina, who was an international player.
And the Detroit Pistons love them some shooters, obviously. So Coach Stan Van Gundy's patented 4-out, 1 in stage gems. Strategic.
So Luke Kennard, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a lot of playing time, and this could be a very, very nice pickup for them. He did drop a little bit in his draft. Some people said he went higher, but I just think this is the just right spot for him. He's not a great athlete, but he does have pretty good athleticism. Well, he had a 38.5 vertical at the combine, so great there. There's a very smart, strategical, positional defenseman, and when he's on offense, maybe he can find some open players.
Yeah, he averaged 5.4 3-pointers per game, and connected on 43.8% of them. Those are really good numbers, and the slight regression as he adjusts to the NBA's three-point arc will still leave him operating as one of the best shooters Detroit has rostered in quite some time. Probably one of the best shooters of the rookies.
Yeah, him and Malik Monk are very, very top elite shooters, I'd say.
I give their pick, I'm just going to say, go out with a B-.
Yeah, I'm just going to say B because I really like Kennard, but, they should have done more because Detroit is still a team that's rebuilding, and only one draft pick really isn't enough.
The next team are the
Golden State Warriors.
And they got one pick. Well, they got Jordan Bell with who the Bulls picked.
Yes. And then he traded for $3.5 million. So this Jordan Bell, I really liked watching him at Oregon after Chris Boucher was injured. He stepped in and just was a great defender. If you guys remember watching him, if you guys watched him in the tournament, he wrapped up so many blocks and so many rebounds, and just was great around the rim.
He slipped out of the first round, and they pounced by buying the number 38 pick from the Chicago Bulls. Now they add yet another incredible talent to their ever-growing coffers.
So, he isn't great, but I like the move. I really like it. And they drafted Patrick Malkaw at the exact same time last year. I just love what this team does. They're just so smooth with how they get all their players, and I think I give this an A+.
Great stuff. I'm just going to give him a flat-out A.
Okay. So, for Houston Rockets,
my
this
favorite
is
team.
Charlie's team right here. They had one draft pick, Isaiah Hartenstein, with the 43rd pick.
Yes, as my favorite team, I wouldn't give it a bad pick, but he spent a year or two probably abroad before joining the Houston Rockets. But I think this was a very solid pick from the Rockets through the second round with that one pick.
He's 7 foot. He's from Germany. He has very, very high potential. I really think that's what they were going for with this pick. Just the potential, maybe, to finish around the rim.
And he's definitely too skinny right now, so he's probably not going to add much to the Rockets until he can beef up a little bit.
Yeah, so, this guy, the upside here is amazing. He's got athleticism, size, and a knack from scoring all over the half-court set. And he could be an impact player with a bit more seasoning overseas.
Yes, the Houston's first rounder because they got this one for when they got traded for Lou Williams last this season. So that's why they only got one pick.
So yeah, I really like it. I mean, right draft. I'm gonna give that an A.
I'm gonna second yours. Give that an A.
Okay. Next, we have the Indiana Pacers.
So we have they got on 3 picks this draft. For their first pick was the 18th spot with T.J. Leaf.
And they also picked up Ike Agugunubu.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's his name.
I can't really pronounce that guy's name.
Edmund, and their last pick at 52 was Edmund Summer.
We'll start with T.J. Leaf. So, he was the second wheel to Lonzo Ball at UCLA. He was not their star player, but was also another super highly touted freshman coming into the year. He was very nice, and he worked with Miles Turner on his game, and so he doesn't play that much defense. He's not a great defender. That's definitely not why they chose him.
Yeah, it's
But
not going to involve too much defense.
Compare
Definitely.
it with Miles Turner, because Miles Turner is a great defensive player at defending the paint. And he's an efficient offensive player who doesn't really take very many bad shots, can knock down the hook shot, knock down the mid-range. He's got a nice fadeaway, so he's just a nice little offensive post player. And
Yes, he can shoot the ball, and he can also dunk the ball. So he's really pretty much an all-around offensive player.
yeah, so I like this pick. I'm gonna give that pick, just that pick, probably an A. I like T.J. Leaf. I like watching him with Lonzo.
And the next pick was at 47 with Ike Anigugu. I don't know.
Which, funny thing is, he, if I'm not mistaken, he's also from UCLA. So, if only where they got Lonzo Ball.
Yep, they'll just have a little bit of some chemistry already there
Yeah, UCLA.
if they do end up playing for the Pacers this season.
I think that this is the draft's gem. He dropped because he didn't start because of Lonzo Ball. But this guy has a 7'6" wingspan.
Yeah, he can get it done on offense and defense. He's healthy.
I thought he was going to be a first-round pick because I remember watching him off the bench. He was just a great, mix-it-up guy. He's got very nice defensive potential, and with also adding T.J. Leaf, it's pretty crazy to think.
And their next pick at 52 was
Summer,
Edmund Summer.
the point guard from Xavier.
He had a torn ACL, and a lack of meat on a 6'6" frame will be kind of limited for his shooting, but depressed Edmund Summer's draft stock after an impressive 2+ year career at Xavier can still play though.
Yeah,
You
he's
have to
still a
admit.
good player, even though he tore his ACL. 6'6", he's a nice point guard, just big body for a point guard. He probably won't really play for the Pacers. This was their 3rd pick, but
You never know. He could be that.
He could be that floor general maybe in a couple of years. Maybe I don't really know who
He needs to put that
maybe
work
like
in
a
for the.
Rubio type of floor general who can find people open, but I really think that he could maybe be their starting point guard in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So overall for them, I'm gonna give them just a B. Straight up
Yeah, I could. I'm gonna give him a B+,
B. Okay. Nice.
even though Paul George is gonna walk away in a year, but that's not important.
So the LA Clippers didn't have any draft picks, but they still ended up with Jawan Evans and Sidarius Thornwell.
Jawan Evans was picked by the Sixers, and Sidarius Thornwell was from the Bucks.
I was a little mad when the Bucks traded him away, because I just loved watching him in the tournament, especially how good he was, because he took over the tournament in so many different ways. He just got aggressive and took over the tournament, beating Duke, Marquette, and some good teams in there, and reaching the Final Four.
I don't know, but is this officially a time to say goodbye to Chris Paul? Because Chris Paul is in the free agency right now, and he's a Chris Paul type player.
Just drafted Juwan Evans, so Juwan Evans could be the replacement for Chris Paul. So they have very nice point guard services.
Yeah, he could also function as a top-notch backup.
So Chris Paul could still stay. I wouldn't write him off just yet. He's only 6'1", so it might be hard for him to create his own shot, but he's a two-way player, and so he could use his quickness, and he's a very nice, quick defender, and he's a very smart player, so he understands what the offense is trying to run, and he really counters that with his great defensive vision. He's also got nice vision on the offensive end, and he's very good at slipping the ball into tiny little windows where his teammates can finish with ease.
And as a sophomore, he averaged around 19 points and 6.4 assists as a sophomore. That's pretty good. You can't really ask for more from a sophomore.
Okay, now let's do Sadarius Thornwell. As I was saying earlier, Sadarius is just one of my favorite players. He's like Malcolm Brogdon last year. The Bucks drafted him in the second round and ended up being a starter in the playoffs. Even though the Bucks did trade him away, I think that was what they were sort of going for, a senior baller who just goes great.
And he's a stellar two-way player, and so that he led the entire NCAA and NBA's max total point added metric.
So he is just crazy at everything. I mean, he was their star player. He can shoot, he can drive, he can pass. This kid could slip into the Clippers rotation. I think he will, but just because of how he's already so talented. That
and he just has to put in a little bit of work in the off season. He just has to work harder than all those other rookies out there who are trying to get a spot.
I love both of these picks, and I'm going to say both of these A+. A+.
They could have gotten something in the first round without that trade. So I would say
no, they didn't.
I would say
all they traded was with money. They just traded for both those guys with money.
I know.
Okay, well, yeah, I say A+. Charlie says A-. Moving on.
Next up, good old Lakers. For their first pick in the draft, they chose Lonzo Ball with the second NBA overall.
With the 27th pick, they chose Kyle Kuzma, and then they traded for Josh Hart from the Jazz, and they also got Thomas Bryant from the Jazz. So let's start off with who else than Lonzo Ball.
I think Lonzo Ball got definitely the most buzz.
The man, the myth, the legend, Lonzo Ball. He's a very, I mean, his dad hyped him up as like the best player in the draft. He went live on Instagram, but he's just such a big name that we don't really have to explain. I mean, if you guys know basketball, then you
know Lonzo Ball. You know
Lonzo Ball and LeVar. He's a very, very nice passer player. Even though if his shot doesn't work quite yet from the three-point line, he still led the college in assists. So
yeah,
I don't really see if there's too much bust potential here.
If his shot is too much, because of his form, how it's over on the left side, if his shot is too much rushed, it's not going to go in because it has to like rotate over.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't know, but he'll definitely increase the stats for his other players like Julius Randle and Brandon Ingram. So I love this pick. Wasn't really expecting anything else from them. Okay, next. They chose Kyle Kuzma, the baller out of Utah. And I remember one of my best friends is a huge Utah fan. He always is talking about how Kyle Kuzma is such a great player. And after we sort of agree, he has upside, and he was the best player available at this spot. I mean, nice power forward, but this just isn't that good of a pick. I mean, he is a great player, I do say that, but I don't really see...
It's a reach. It's a reach.
It's a reach. They should have chose probably someone else.
He's
the best player available, like Josh Hart. I would have gone with Josh Hart if I was
He's an unorthodox.
End up with Josh Hart. I would have gone with him here.
He's an unorthodox power forward